Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Ryan Miller with Etna Interactive, and we're going to talk today about one of the most popular trends that we've seen in the aesthetic industry, those loyalty or rewards programs that are out there. Now, it's easy to understand why they're so popular. We've all seen the mechanics, the data that suggest that it's 7 times less expensive to keep a patient that you already have inside the clinic than to go out and acquire a new one. Now, as we talk about these programs, one thing I do want to frame in, I'm explicitly not talking about those programs that are available to you from your industry partners, but instead those programs that are actually operating inside of independent clinics, programs that you've set up and that you operate yourself. But I want to start by asking you a question. Is patient loyalty, do you think it's really a thing? One of the questions I often like to ask to help people reflect on this question, and it's especially powerful, I think, for the women in your office, is to think first about those relationships in your life, those service relationships, where you would expect loyalty to be a normal thing. And often my female friends will tell me, well, I have a very loyal relationship with my hairdresser. To which I ask back, how many times does she get to screw up your do before you're out the door? And the answer I usually get back is 1 time. Some people are generous and they'll say 2 times. As we reflect on this, we have to ask ourselves, if we really think our patients are loyal, that they will come to us no matter what the circumstances or conditions, we might be kidding ourselves. So it's better to think of these programs perhaps as rewards programs, rewards for, well, behavior that we really want inside of those relationships, right? We want repeat patronage. We want them to choose to come back to our office. We ultimately want them to be compliant. We want them to follow our treatment recommendations, not only with the services, but on the timeline that we recommend. And we want to try to control discounting. And I think this is perhaps one of the reasons why people are most interested in these kinds of programs, is because it allows us to, well, respond to that patient who says, well, do you have a special coming up on Botox? Well, we don't, and in fact, we almost never offer specials. However, our best available pricing is, well, it's on offer for you today. All you have to do is become a member of our rewards program, right? It gives us that ready answer to the pricing objection. Now, what we've done, because we get asked all the time, what is the best way for us to run and what are the best mechanics of these loyalty and rewards programs? So we went out and we did a survey. Now, it's not a scientific study. We identified 100 aesthetic clinics in North America that were using words like loyalty, rewards, or membership on their website. So it's a focus sample. And then we broke those programs into 5 categories. What we found, and these are listed in the order of popularity: monthly subscriptions, cashback programs, tiered rewards, annual memberships, and then points-based programs. Let me talk a little bit about what we saw in each case. Now, the monthly subscription model, and this is where individuals are paying a contracted monthly fee for some prescribed list of services or some selected discounts. It's very similar to like a gym membership. The range in pricing and services was highly variable. These were all over the place, but this was the least frequent option. Now, what we've seen is there are a number of software providers that are now offering solutions that make these programs more viable. Historically, given the complexity of administering these campaigns, probably explains why it's so infrequent among the sample population that we looked at. Now, restrictions that were common in these particular programs were the kinds of services that were included in there and the offer or the restriction that you couldn't combine program participation with periodic sales specials or discounts that were out there. The cashback model was next in line, but still fairly infrequent. You earned credit back when you bought specific services inside the clinic. It's similar to like the Discover card that has a cashback offer. It ranged from 5% off, but only 4 out of the 100 clinics that we surveyed actually were offering this particular model. Now, there were a lot of restrictions in this particular case. You didn't earn points when you bought discount or promotional items. It wasn't good towards insurance copays because many clinics offer both cash services and insurance reimbursed service. And everybody was requiring that the amount that you redeemed, that you effectively zeroed out your account, redeeming that cashback amount all in one lump sum. I think probably for logistics reasons, right? Difficult to track that. Now, the third program in line that we took a look at were these tiered rewards tied to some level of annual spend. You earned discounts or some kind of special benefit as you spent more inside of the practice. Now, these are very much like airline miles programs. As we looked at what was common out there in the marketplace, we saw some programs that were based largely on 3-tiered systems, most of them starting at a minimum threshold of $3,500. Now again, it's a fairly small sample when I say most of them. Only 6 in 100 practices that we found we're offering this kind of program. The tiers reset every year, kind of your leveling, just like with airlines. Every year is based on your last year's investment with that business. And again, promotional purchases often were excluded from that spend calculation. So now, where did we see the real bulk of the programs that were out there in this vein? Annual membership was certainly, we're getting into the territory of programs that were much more popular, right? You pay up front and you get some kind of VIP benefits package. It's very much like an Amazon Prime model. And what we found is that there was a fairly wide range in terms of the tiering system, but we were able to distill it back into two common models: a tier 1 level of benefits at about $350 for, again, an annual fee, and tier 2 for an annual membership fee of $750. It was roughly the range. Now, this was a full 29% of the sample population that we were able to discover, but again, a decent number of restrictions. These weren't benefits that were transferable, so if you wanted out, you couldn't give this program to a friend. These were non-refundable. Once you paid in, you were in for the full year. Any unused benefits expired at the end of the year. We saw that you couldn't combine these with other offers. Right? So if you're contemplating this kind of program, you might also contemplate these same kinds of restrictions or requirements. But by far the most popular program that we saw were points-based system. Points that were accumulated inside the clinic with every dollar spent. This is very, very similar to those general credit card rewards programs, right? Every dollar that you put on your credit card, you earn some kind of point for redemption in the future. What we found is that $1 was being used to equal 1 point, but that in the range of 1,000 points was being used to redeem for either $20 to $50 inside the practice, depending on how generous the practice that was running the program was feeling. Now, this was 53% of all the programs. Why so high? What we found is that for many clinics, they have software that natively supports this kind of program, making it one of the easiest to administer. Now, commonly what we found is that these programs put limitations like, your points didn't have cash value, so you couldn't draw cash back out of the practice. There were restrictions on which services were ultimately used for points accumulation. When promotions were offered, patients weren't accumulating points because they were already proactively receiving a discount on that particular service, and that they required very often that points were redeemed in specific units, that there weren't the ability to get pennies back on procedures. Now, for most practices, what we found is that the available technology does seem to be the major driver in which program they're choosing. Now, this research is really just intended to give you the framework to understand where you might go in developing a loyalty or rewards program for your practice. But there was one truth that we found from all of the work that we've done among our clients, and it's this: that ultimately, if you want to be successful with this kind of program, it's not about the mechanics you choose, but what we found is it's about staff engagement. To the extent that your staff believes in the program, they're excited to talk about the program, and that you maybe even are incentivizing them to invite people to join and subscribe to your program, that's ultimately where you're and how you're going to see the highest rates of adoption for this kind of program inside your practice. We hope the research is going to help you develop your own program. If you have feedback, be sure to share your comments right below this posting in our blog.